Hello, thought I would do a lunchtime live. Just waiting for Alright, having some technical issues here, but hopefully the Facebook Live is starting. Yes, it is. Fantastic. So today I thought I'd ask a question, which I do get asked as well, often by clients and other people who are interested, that they're sort of like, what time do you think is the best time to train? And look, there is plenty of studies and plenty of information there on some of the optimal times to train and why. And it's quite interesting because there's a lot of things that come into play. So one will be like, how many calories have you consumed through the day? What's your calorie absorption, glycogen levels, how awake are you, all of that sort of stuff. The other piece is around environmental factors. So if it's really hot in summer, for example, you're better off training in the morning. For men and women, we have different hormones that peak at different times. So for men, whilst they might not be eating, in the morning their testosterone levels tend to be higher, which means that potentially their recovery and strength is going to be better. But that's not always the case. And with females, our cortisol levels, like men, raise early in the morning because that helps us get up, but it also peaks around 3 p.m, which is slightly different. But obviously it's not very practical to go training at 3 p.m. in the afternoon when you're most stressed or have the most kind of that kind of active hormone going on, right? So I guess the thing is it's great. There's all this information out there, plenty of studies done on this, particularly when it comes to athletes, even just everyday people. The problem is with this is that scientific studies obviously have a place, very reliable, very credible, very useful. But generally, they use, they've got a very narrow focus in terms of what they're actually looking for and try and hold as many factors as possible static so they can really measure certain things, right? The other part is that it tends to be a fairly narrow demographic that they use in these studies. And the other piece is as well, of course, is the information that you get is aggregated averages. So it's not necessarily practical when you're applying it to yourself. It'll just give you ideas. So I guess that comes to my second point, is that the problem with these type of things is that people can have an opinion on this, but it doesn't answer a fundamental question for you, right? And there's two parts to that. The first part is, the first part is that, one, you need to work out for yourself what works for you best, right? And the second piece, so you might find as well, so you can do some experimentation. So for example, is it going to be, am I a morning person? Yes. Well, then maybe get your workout done early. Are you struggling to get the energy in the evening to go to the gym? Well, fine, before you have that resistance, wake up and go and do it early. If you have school run in the morning, you're probably not going to have time to go do your workout. So then, or if you're a night out, you're probably not going to get up at 4 a.m. to go do a workout because getting out of bed would be difficult for you at the best of times. The other piece is as well as perhaps you like eating later or you like eating earlier, and therefore training would be working around that. So the reality is that you need to kind of work out for you what works with your routine. The second part is as well, the other consideration is not only what works out best for you, but what can you practically do? What can you consistently do every day, which is going to be the fundamental key, because it's not so much around worrying about getting the perfect workout in or optimizing that if you're not actually consistently doing the habit, right? So the key part is to really understand what works for you rather than worrying about what the perfect workout is. Now, the second piece third piece rather, I'm going to talk about as well is what I actually do with my training and why, and hopefully that'll give you some, some ideas around how you might structure your workouts. So for me, I actually start by actually scheduling in my resistance workouts in the week, because that's my bang for buck stuff. When you're a bodybuilder, resistance training and body parts training is probably going to be key, right? So I schedule that into my calendar before everything else, and I've got to do that as well because I've got other people, like my coach, for example, who I've got to work with and work around with their schedule and stuff like that. We've got those times locked in mostly. I then schedule my work around that. And I'm able to maintain and protect that space about 90% of the time. There'll be times when I've got meetings and other things that I can't get out of, and I've got to do that, right? And we've got a degree of flexibility with that. The second piece is with my cardio on off-season, I actually schedule that around my other work and business priorities, because we've got to kind of balance everything that you need to get done, right? And at the moment, I've got cardio, which is a bit more flexible. I can go out for walks and so on, and it's not as intense. In on-season, that'll change, because that's one of the key components in terms of actually making sure we're getting conditioned for stage ready comp, right? So it's slightly different. And so as you'll see there, it's not an all or nothing approach, and it doesn't fit in with the whole, do this all the time. There's some degree of flexibility in reining in depending on what our short-term goals are, with consideration to the long-term goals. So I hope that helps. The other piece for me is I actually do about 60% of my workouts, resistance workouts, are actually in the morning. And the reason I do that is I try and schedule my heaviest workouts in the morning before my body has a chance to realise what's happening. 2, I actually prefer training fasted when I have to do heavy lifts, so I don't feel like I've got stuff in my guts, and I can actually get the movement and everything unhindered. But the other piece is as well is I'm also trying to condition my body to be able to sustain heavy load and to train in a fasted state, because when you're in a calorie deficit, for example, you're probably going to be in a fasted state for the majority of that, or you're going to be on lower calories. So I want my body to get used to storing nutrients in the muscle when it needs to, and being able to activate that energy efficiently so that I can maintain the strength and endurance that I need to get through a workout. The second piece is I also then do still have some evening workouts. And evening workouts for me I do enjoy because they're a great way to finish off the day. The problem is they also do amp me up as well. So they give me mental clarity, but they also give me plenty of energy. And when you're trying to wind down for the evening, that can be problematic. The other piece is, well, I'm trying to condition my body to actually be able to handle loads in different temperatures and different times of the day. So, some of my training is actually done outside in the shed, which means that, typically in summer we're training in 40 plus degree heat. And that's just a different level of conditioning, which, for me, helps me, extract a different level of performance. So not something that you guys need to worry about if you're not consistently training, but just something to consider if you're looking at mixing up different ways. It's not always about the reps and the volume. It can actually be sometimes the environmental conditions and the times that you train, right? So there's all sorts of factors that we can do to change the intensity of what we're doing in terms of training. The other piece, I guess, as well, let me just have a look at my notes, because if I don't write notes before I do these lives, I lose all the points that I want to say and end up on a tangent. Don't know if anyone else gets that. So yeah, I had 5 points. Yep, so 1 was around having the resistance training booked in. 2 was around having cardio booked in around other priorities, around 60% of my workouts being in the morning, mixing up both AM and PM sessions. And then the other 5th piece as well is what I've done to increase the volume is to actually, and endurance, is to actually have a couple of double days with resistance training. So at the moment now I'm squeezing in 8 sessions a week into a 6-day training week to try and actually build up some extra reps, which is working pretty well so far. Yeah, so hopefully that helps and gives some ideas on how to structure your workouts to best suit you, rather than worrying about the perfect time to train. So let me know what works for you best in terms of training in the evening or in the morning. Cheers.